One of my favorite poets is David White. Anybody else a David White fan? Oh my gosh, I love David White. And I don't want to botch this quote of his. He said in one of his poems, "So let this winter of listening be enough for the new life I must call my own." I'm delighted to and honored to speak to you today about winter medicine. Winter medicine. Okay, I know we're in Edmonton. You're like, please, I'm over it. Winter medicine. And specifically, there's lots of winter medicine, but specifically something I'm calling the return. So I want to back up a little bit. And the last time I gave a talk here was a couple of months ago. It was on winter solstice. And I talked about the gifts of stillness in that talk. And I won't go into all of the catching you up to all that stillness brought. You can watch that talk on YouTube if you're interested. But what I will say is I went home that afternoon and I gave myself more of that gift of stillness. I love the spiritual practice of visioning, and I like to do it every year, beginning the year from that place of listening to my soul, listening to where I'm being called. And so I went into our bedroom, sat with the still sun sitting outside my window, and visioned. And a lot came in, a lot of beauty, a lot of threads. And what came in loudly was, this is the year of sacred sovereignty. And it didn't come in like a slogan. It came in as a covenant. I felt myself being asked to accept this as a covenant for myself for this year. And I could feel the ask in my whole body, my whole being. And so I said yes. And in that moment, it was like a water faucet turned on. Let me tell you one other thing before I talk about the water faucet. The word sovereignty dropped in for me about 6 years ago, and I've been playing with that word, not understanding why it was with me, trying to understand it. I was thinking about queens or regality. In fact, as a coach, my tagline became Coach to Queens. And so I was playing with this, but the sacred sovereignty came in. So I feel like I've been pregnant with this baby for 6 years. So when that water faucet turned on, it was like my water broke. And this baby's being birthed. And it was like a fire hose, drinking from a fire hose, coming in. And this full ecology came in. And the other thing that I heard very loud and clear was seasonal wisdom supports sacred sovereignty. And lunar wisdom supports sacred sovereignty. So I made this covenant, this vow. I started just seeping myself into that wisdom of the season. Of course, we're in winter, so that's what I've been living with since that time. The next thing I heard after a few days, I believe it was the day before the new year, was share it. Okay, I don't know what that looks like. And then it wasn't a course, it's not a program, it's not this, that, and the other thing. Okay, I'll create a WhatsApp group, a space where I can just share the practices, not everything. That would overwhelm people, but the practices. And something is landing. Because there's over 60 people in this group now. Something is landing. I don't claim to be the originator of this that's coming through. This is more like a transmission. It feels like ancient wisdom and a time for it. So, winter medicine and the return. What I've been learning as I have been taking the time to practice. This really is a talk about spiritual practice. What is our mission again? We teach spiritual practice that create joy, build lives. That is a really great mission. So I've been practicing, and what I've noticed is that the more I practice this winter medicine, specifically the return is you coming back to yourself, which is what happens with the seasons in winter. Okay, our culture, the way a lot of us are raised, all this stuff out here, it's almost like it celebrates an endless spring and summer, right? Keep going, keep growing, keep expanding, you're unstoppable, right? All of those messages. And a lot of the time, we get caught up in that and we override our own bodies. We abandon ourselves to keep going, to be unstoppable, because if I'm tired and I need to rest, somehow that might feel like failure. So winter is teaching me about the importance of not only stillness, but that return, coming back into the body. Science of mind, that title can feel a little confusing because we can confuse mind with head, brain, intellect. Mind is consciousness. We are in these bodies. This body is part of our consciousness. What we are experiencing in these bodies is consciousness. This separation with our bodies that happens a lot of the time, where we tend to, I'm tired, but I got to keep going, or I don't want to deal with that, that's inconvenient, that doesn't feel good. We're actually separating, and we're now in a more dualistic way of living. This is a non-dualism teaching. We are one, not two, not my mind and this body that I happen to inhabit for a little while. It's all of it. This is our principle of wholeness. It is all of it. And this coming back, we are an embodied spirituality. We are a living in our bodies spirituality. We are not ceiling surfers. So, coming back, winter. Okay, winter. I'll just speak to it for a second. Before Cliff and I came here, we've been here 3 years now. And so we've had 3 winters. Before we came, it was the thing everybody was telling us about. Like, are you ready for the winters here? Really? Do you have your layers? Because it's cold and it's long. Before coming here, I had spent 20 years in Los Angeles. Winters there are a metaphor. I'm grateful for the 2 years we spent in Asheville. It kind of gently eased us as best it could into our winters here. But I guess what I want to say with humility is I don't claim to know what it's like to live most of your life in winters that last about 5 months long. But I listen to you, and I know some of you go away, some of you stay and you brace. And winter, I can understand. It's an inconvenience. It's a nuisance. Everything takes longer. I have to ice my car, shovel the sidewalks, put on all these layers. Everything takes a little bit more time, right? But if you look at the seasons and you look at nature, nature is teaching us so much. Winter's not a mistake. It comes every year. So why? We have spring and we have summer and then winter. So a lot of us kind of want to ignore it. We just deal with it. What is happening in winter? The soil is receiving everything that has fallen. We don't see that, but it's happening. There's quiet transformation happening in winter. Quiet metabolizing in winter. So when I'm speaking to winter medicine, I also want to be clear that it's not about, in winter, I have to do this. Although it's helpful if you can align with winter. It is helpful. But we all have winter seasons in our life, a time where we're called to rest. And I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my life going, push, keep going, expand, grow, produce. I worked for a company that was like that. I ended up at the doctor's office with a doctor saying, I don't normally say this, but you need to quit your job. Yeah, I had to make some changes because my body was impacted. And what would happen for me when I took a vacation that is supposed to be rest and playfulness, right? Or whatever you want it to be, but certainly rest if you're working a lot. And I would collapse or I would get sick. And that is not rest. That is your body going into repair because you haven't rested. All right. So you're probably going, okay, what do I take with me with this talk? The practices. I want to widen the lens because I know that some of you in here are in a season of building. You're in a season of expanding, of growing. And so that's great. I love that life energy. It's wonderful. And what winter teaches us, what sacred sovereignty shows us, is how to align with life rather than force and make happen. You come back to yourself and align. It teaches us about our own carrying capacity. So as you're going, which is wonderful, life wants that. And if you're in that season, it's simply about the return is about just staying connected, knowing when to close the laptop, knowing when to turn off the lights and go to bed, knowing when to not make so many appointments. So for you, for the builders out there in that season, I just want to invite you, if that's you, to feel your feet on the floor. Put your hand on your heart, one on your belly, and just turn toward your beautiful self and say, I don't need to force this. I align. I don't need to force this. I align. That's for you. And for the caregivers in the room, for the parents of young children, for those who are caring for aging parents, for those who are caring for a partner. You might be like, well, this is a luxury, what she's talking about, right? You don't need another demand on your life. But this return, this supporting you to come back to yourself can happen in a microdose. It can happen in a breath. It can happen when you're making lunches, when you're wiping a counter. It can happen when you're sitting at the bedside. For you, if this is you, I invite you to place your hand on your heart and just say, I am here too. I am here too. Me also. And bring yourself into that space as you're loving others. As I've noticed for myself, as I've been practicing, connecting to myself, this is love, this is self-love, by the way, coming back into contact with yourself. I have noticed my heart open so much. I have noticed that this love, when I think I couldn't love anymore, that the love is even more immense and present. And it overflows. It overflows. And I've been feeling this joy, thinking about this community, love overflowing. And so I know for myself, I bring it to you because I've been experiencing myself as I've been taking doses of winter medicine and practicing sacred sovereignty. If I had to put sacred sovereignty into one phrase or one word, it would be non-self-abandonment. We talk about the journey of the soul. This brings you back to your soul. Your soul is gentle. It doesn't command or demand, or it's not performative. It's real. And it emerges when the body feels safe, when your nervous system is settled. That's when your soul comes fully in to your body and your being. So I'm inviting us all to tend to the garden of your life and your soul as you are inviting in winter medicine, inviting winter to teach you. If you want to take a hand, if you're feeling like you're bracing, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, for you, with your feet on the ground, hand on your belly, on your heart, wherever it feels good, you can say to yourself, nothing needs to be fixed here, only to be met with presence. Nothing needs to be fixed here, only to be met with presence. And if you're irritated because it's winter, it's long, if you're irritated, you're feeling restless, press your feet into the floor 3 times. Just press. You could gently shake your hands for about 10 seconds. And you, if that's you, you can say to yourself, I am allowed to be in my body. I'm allowed to come back to and be in my body. And if you're tender right now and feeling low, which sometimes the season of winter can do with the less light, then I invite you to place your hand right on your heart, your spiritual heart, maybe both hands, and feel the warmth of your palm. And just say to yourself, I am held by something greater than me. I am held by something greater than me. And if you want to give that something greater a name, by all means, the name that works for you. Infinite love, universe, spirit. I just feel so much love, and I just want to share it. So, that is my talk for you today, and may you let this winter, let listening in this time be enough. And may you be held in love as you gently and kindly return to yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you.